What's the worst case of design over function that you've ever seen? There's a brand of pregnancy test that will send the results to your phone. You have to search for the app, download it, pee on the test and wait for the results. What was wrong with the regular tests? By the time you've downloaded the app, you could have had your results. They want to collect your data and sell it. I'm super tired of all these companies having their own app. I don't want to download a Home Depot app just to find where they hid the wood glue. Similarly, I don't want to download a restaurant's app just to read the menu. Websites work fine. Similarly, I don't mind an app or a website, but please, don't make me create a user. I was staying at a hotel in Cleveland where the toilet paper holder was across the room from the toilet. You had to waddle your way over there to get some paper. The first time I used it I sighed so loud. There was an architectural firm that I was tangentially involved with a decade or two ago where the restrooms had the spare roll of toilet paper in a ridiculously fancy holder placed just out of reach of even a tall person at eye level. Above it was a little plaque saying something to the effect of utility is the beauty of form often overlooked, but its absence shall always be noted upon. On the World's Best Houses show, there was a house where the rooms didn't connect to each other, as in you had to walk outside and then re-enter the house from the outside every time you wanted to change rooms. And this house was in the Arizona desert. Great thinking for when summer rolls around. Whoa, that's 3 people so far in this thread mentioning that house. Seems it's stuck in a lot of people's minds. I work in a dementia memory support unit, and we recently got new furniture. The only things we got for the residents to sit on were these rolling chairs with no locks. They were very nice looking, but there was a huge spike in falls due to the chairs sliding right out from underneath. It took a month to get them changed because the design team said the chairs matched the style too well and didn't want to mismatch the whole room. The architecture of schools doing remodeling when they really can't afford to. My ex-boyfriend is interning at an architecture firm and they let him look at the plans for some of these schools. They were literally designed by a legislator somewhere who thought that huge glass panels and weirdly shaped rooms were the key to raising performance. He gave a nice long rant about its design flaws and how impractical it would be to build. Then again, my high school has hexagon-shaped rooms and we're due for a renovation soon. Neighbor built a new house where both the front and back roofs slope down towards each other in the middle of the house, forming a big valley. Predictably, his house floods when it rains. There's a McDonald's in my town, and in the dining area the ceiling lights are so big and hang so low that, on some tables, they are actually at head height and below. You literally can't see the person sitting opposite you. Just watch the first episode of that World's Most Extraordinary Houses show on Netflix. They have this house with basically like giant causeway stairs that go up to the main door. They are all uneven, and some have big gap between them, and the couple that built it want to retire to this house. Come on, my grandpa fell down regular freaking stairs all the time. Just, come on. I work in an area with a lot of very expensive mansions with all types of design. One thing I've noticed is that most have a grand entrance that is just for looks visitors and a second everyday entry through the garage or on the side that homeowners use. My boss actually has an elevator from the garage to the house. My company's new offices, which feature stools only, meaning I don't get any back support for 8 hours of work. They look sleek and modern enough, but the lack of regard for employee comfort is just astounding to me. Ergonomics is covered under OSHA if I recall correctly. The chandelier in the boardroom at work. It's less a chandelier and more a metal ring of tiny light bulbs. First off, it gives off like zero light. In fact, there are 2 other light switches in that room because you need 2 more banks of recessed lighting to make that room any brighter than a cave. I'm not good at judging square footage, but that room comfortably holds 50 people if that tells you anything. The worst part is changing the bulbs. I've only had to do it once, but it was a pain in the butt. Each Christmas light sized bulb is spring loaded. You have to unhook the bottom and the top without pulling the whole thing down, and it's suspended on 3 wires. Frick, whoever thought that was sleek, modern style. It's not for the sleek design, it's for the secret society meetings after hours. You need just the right lack of light for those chanting ceremonies. Every hover over drop down menu or other insane ways of hiding our choices when there's space to put them in the graphic interface. And then when you try to move your mouse or finger down the menu to click one of the options, it closes because you're no longer hovering directly over it. Well, this might not be exactly what you are asking, but why everything, and I mean everything, needs to have a video nowadays? Just give me the chance to skim the article to find the info I am looking for. It's quick, easy, efficient, and just works. My university's dining center has these ceiling lamps that descend to about a foot below head height, low ceiling, and they are situated right above the booths. I've conked my head on those goddamn lamps so many frickin' times. Yeah, we didn't have that problem at work, so somebody decided to hang an upcycled wood decor with some LED lights on top of it to make the place more cozy and environmentally friendly at the same time. I also have curly frizz hair and almost always wear a bun or a ponytail. They can't fire me now. I'm trapped here. I'm gonna go with the gear shift that murdered Anton Yelchin. Freaking pretentious balls. So many people had to have approved that freaking thing, and not one of them ever thought that maybe not being able to tell the difference between neutral or park is freaking dangerous. Where they place batteries in cars now. On my Ford Focus they have it half under the edge of the engine compartment, to the point they ran the ground out because you can't reach the stump to jump it, and if you have to change the battery you need a socket with an extension to get the bolt off. Why do that? Why not just put it out in the open like they used to, so I can get to it? Please take your vehicle to an authorized service center. Please frick off. My middle school for the longest time mandated kids wash their hands before recess outside. Like I get it is to promote cleanliness, which ain't a bad thing, but the second you touch a ball or chalk your hands are dirty again, and they had no such enforcement coming back instead after recess, so it was weird. The Apple mouse with a charger cable underneath, meaning I have to have a forced early lunch at work because you can't charge and use it at the same time. My mother got a new car recently, and its horn isn't in the center of the steering wheel where it usually is in most cars. Instead it's a button behind the wheel next to the indicator switches. I really can't think of any reason something so vital would be moved away from where it is generally understood that it should be, other than the designing team decided they wanted to introduce their own design. If there is a legitimate reason, I'd love to hear it, because as far as I can see it's just dangerous as frick. If there was suddenly a serious life or death situation where she needed to blast the horn to warn someone of an oncoming car or something, she definitely would not be able to find the horn as quickly as she might need to. I drive a Mini and the buttons for the horn are at 3 and 9 o'clock on the steering wheel when I'm driving in a straight line. However, when I want to honk at someone driving like a T when I'm on a roundabout, you can bet I'll have no idea where those buttons will be. At the local children's hospital, which is a new building, the lettering on the signs and most of the entrances outside was a very tasteful white lettering over a pale green background. A little bit of the signage in front was white letters on a dark blue background or something. I noticed how hard most of these signs were to read, and I actually called the hospital saying that this would be too hard for someone to read at night, especially a teary-eyed parent coming late at night to the hospital, trying to park or find the correct entrance. I called the hospital about it and just told them, recently all of the signs have been changed to more legible lettering, although I doubt it was due to my calling. But maybe many people complained about it. I once complained to a company that its billboard was really condescending. They never responded. A few months later they were replaced with a different slogan. I'd like to believe someone listened to me, but more than likely they update the billboards every year or so and nobody cared what I thought of the other one. Not just small pockets on women's clothing, but fake pockets. It gets worse. Sometimes there'll be a fake zipper on a fake pocket. I call those vestigial pockets. Battery-powered automatic hand soap dispensers for the home. It's okay to touch the hand pump on your soap dispenser. You're about to wash your hands. Those suckers just wanted to sell batteries. Windows 10, search, control panel. No results found. Try online search. Or, best match, voice recorder. Ord, best match, voice recorder. Audi, best match, voice recorder. Audio, best match, manage audio devices. Cell phone batteries. Nearly nobody cares how thin and light their phone is. Double the battery's capacity to 6500 mAh and add a couple to the thickness of the phone. I had a 10,000 mAh battery on my Note 2 and loved it. This is what I don't get. I would much prefer a thicker phone with a better battery life over a thin phone with a crap battery life. Ms. Office's menu system. I rarely find an action using it that does not take 2-3 more mouse clicks than the old menus took. Touchscreen radio and climate controls in cars. I'm a mechanic and work on new cars and trade-ins. Some of them are such a pain. If you have to take your eyes off the road and fiddle with a touchscreen menu to turn the heater or AC on or change a radio station, that's a lousy design. Most of them I'll go through the controls while parked because it's not safe to do while driving. On my own car, I have a radio with a volume knob. I have a big heater control knob and so forth. It's easy and I don't even have to look at it. I wouldn't buy a new car that didn't have good controls, but they're getting more rare. A friend new office has tables instead of desks. They didn't have any drawers to store their personal stuff. My friend was one of the first women working there and she didn't want to be known as the complainer. So she put on her desk a box of tampons and some pads. Some men were kind of horrified to see this. It didn't take long for every employee to get drawers under their tables. The rear window of the Chevy Volt. I know it has a backup camera, but if there were a mailbox child anything narrow, under 4 featuring, and off to the side of the camera, you could never see it. It probably isn't as bad as it feels to me. I just get so worried while backing it up. Still, it's the only poorly designed part of it in my opinion. Of course there will be times it is not possible, but I back into parking spot driveway whenever possible. When you park, you are driving up to the area and have a good chance to survey the situation. Back in and park. When pulling out, you have a forward view through the windshield. Why does everything need an app? I put a stereo in my car, and it wants my phone to download an app to use it. The software is crappy because, guess what? They aren't a software company, so they spend way too little on it, and it constantly fights with the Spotify app or my phone's built-in music app. So many devices have unnecessary apps or software that get forced on consumers. This also extends to crap tier bloatware on phones that no one ever uses, yet everyone has. The hospital I used to work at. Over $1 billion spent into building it and absolutely no input from actual healthcare providers. It looks like shipping containers stacked haphazardly on top of each other, long hallways, terrible visibility on your patients' rooms and monitors. They made every single unit look exactly the same. Couldn't tell if you were in the ICU or the wards. Had all of the supplies off stage from the patient's hallways. Terrible in emergency situations. The designers emphasized the natural lighting and private rooms for everyone. Nice big TVs in every room. It's a friggin' hospital, not a hotel. Clocked an average 12k steps on a normal 12-hour shift, upwards to 20k steps on a hectic shift. Such a waste of taxpayers' money. They had to cut a lot of the ancillary staff, housekeeping, phlebotomists, didn't focus on retention, letting 10+ years nurses leaving. Solution was to hire a whole bunch of new grads training other new grads, and it just became a revolving door of high turnover. This place went to crap quick, and it was one of the most renowned hospitals in the Metroplex when it was back in the old hospital. Pants without pockets on the sides. And what the frick is the purpose of a tie anyway? Don't get me started on the stupidity of high heels. I can't pick one. From what I've read on Reddit, the purpose of a tie is to add symmetry, hide buttons. I work for a cabinet door and drawer company and one of our patrons ordered a U-shaped drawer box. Asked the people what the deal was and they simply said, it's an architect's house. Actually made me laugh a bit. Those are often used in bathroom vanities to go around the sink drain pipe. Otherwise you end up with a forced drawer or two much smaller drawers. Industrial minimalist interior design. It's all concrete floors, bare bulbs, and hard couches with wooden armrests. So uncomfortable and cold. My kitchen sink. It's a freaking low flow kitchen sink. And yet the purpose of a sink is to deliver water to you. It's not a shower where conservation of water over time is a desired trait. It's a freaking sink where you want to get all the water you need as quickly as possible. This applies to toilets too. If you have to flush multiple times for it to go down, It defeats the purpose entirely. Touchscreens in cars. Buttons and knobs work so well because we commit actions to muscle memory. We can change the radio, change the heat, etc without even thinking about the action of turning a dial. Touchscreens are complete crap and outright dangerous. With them, you must take your eyes off the road. They are only used because some designer salesperson decided touchscreens are the hot new thing, and the new model needs them to look trendy and modern. Alternatively, because the knobs and buttons supposedly ruin the look of their interior design. I would be very surprised if the government doesn't come out with some legislature making touchscreens illegal or their use while driving illegal. I get that cars have too many functions and designers can't turn the dash into the cockpit of an airplane. However, some really good work is being done on higher end cars where buttons and knobs have contextual functions. Like, you have one single dial. If you select climate control, the dial changes the temperature. If you select music, the dial changes the audio, etc. A lazy uncreative designer would just shove a massive iPad in there and make it control everything. Our 2015 Chevy has a touchscreen that periodically pops up a warning about it being dangerous to take your eyes off the road. And it won't go away until you take your eyes off the road to X out of the screen. It's stupid. Pockets and pants for women. Those are seriously pretty much useless most of the time. When I was in college I traded pants with a friend of mine who was a girl to see if we could fit in the same pants, and I was very annoyed that I could barely fit anything in the pockets. In high school, a lot of women on the robotics team and theater crew wore men's pants for the pockets. Respect. The conference rooms in my workplace have lighting that can be set to come on when motion is detected, which spares electricity when the room is empty and no one remembered to turn off the lights. The lights can also be dimmed and turned on and off. The problem is that all of these functions are actuated by a single button, a great big button that takes up most of the light switch panel. You toggle through modes by pressing it, and you can access deeper functionality like dim level by holding the button once you've reached dim mode. But frick if anyone can figure all that out. Half the time you walk in and the lights are just off and stay off. The only LEDs on the switch to kind of help you out form a vertical line on one side of the switch. And as far as I can tell they simply indicate which dim level you've chosen, which is idiotic because you can see the main lights dimming. Cuvs. Crossovers. They lack the ruggedness of a true SUV, are less functional practical than a minivan, and handle worse than a car. The only reason they're popular is because many people shunned SUVs due to gas mileage and minivans because of the soccer mom stereotype. I've owned both a crossover and a minivan, and the minivan is a superior vehicle in every measurable way. I went to a bar with tables made from wooden barrels, very cool looking, but so uncomfortable to sit at. You had to either sit with your legs way open, or turn 90 degrees. At a local community college, there is a staircase that is 2 people wide at the ground level, but as it gets higher, the width gets shorter so that by the first landing you can only fit 1 person wide. Not sure if it's a design thing, but the decision by TV news and sports shows to shoot a weatherman or analyst interacting with a smart TV to show the weather or a graphic I can't properly read and doesn't always work well. Just put the graphic info on my screen. The new Macbook Pros. Apple really took out the SD card and HDMI ports to make a thinner laptop. Also, what the heck is that stupid screen strip at the top of the keyboard? It looks like someone's half-baked sea-fuel pipe dream. Unless they reverse course, my 2015 will be my last Mac. The new Mac has worse keyboard, no function keys, limited RAM. These aren't pro machines. Shame because I really like the OS. The new Reddit look. I'm sure it's a wonderful look, but I don't need large print, pretty colors and lots of empty space to fricking read text. And if it becomes the only option, no time traveling back to the old Reddit look, I'm leaving. And that is why I use a third-party Reddit app on my phone. Nearly every parking lot in Florida seems to have landscaping that you can't see around in order to drive carefully. Looking before you turn is nearly pointless when there are trees, shrubs blocking your view. Should be illegal. I don't know if it would be considered the worst that I've seen, But I've noticed that some car manufacturers are trying to get cute with indicators. The worst I've seen was one where it was a single line of LEDs that didn't light up simultaneously. It kinda crawled along, if you understand my drift. Granted, indicating seems to be somewhat optional where I live, but this seems like a recipe for disaster. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.